Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, digital sleuths, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the electrifying true story of a man who became a ghost in the machine, a digital phantom that haunted the deepest corners of the internet. His name was Kevin Mitnick. For years, he was known as the most wanted computer criminal in American history. His exploits weren't just about breaking into systems, though they were about exposing the terrifyingly human vulnerabilities that underpin our entire digital world. This is a cybercrime documentary that will fundamentally change how you look at online security forever. The scene is February 1995. Raleigh, North Carolina. The air is thick with anticipation as FBI agents surround an unassuming, dark apartment complex. Their target is a phantom, a hacker they once absurdly claimed could trigger nuclear war with a mere phone call. Inside, either oblivious or perhaps just consumed by his digital world, Kevin Mitnick is at a keyboard. The rhythmic clack of keys is the only sound in his universe. Even as the real world, armed with flashlights and firearms, closes in, the door explodes inward. FBI get-down commands echo through the small apartment. Flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the scene. Mitnick freezes, his hands instinctively rising, heart pounding. He knows he's been caught. But what if this moment, the culmination of a relentless manhunt, wasn't the end of his story, but where the true legend of Kevin Mitnick actually begins? How did a charming phone prankster, a kid obsessed with manipulating systems and people, morph into the alleged most dangerous hacker in the world? How did he go from riding buses for free to leading the FBI on a cross-country chase that redefined cybercrime? Well, our story doesn't begin in a server room with lines of complex code, but in the sun-drenched streets of 1972nd Los Angeles. Here, a teenage Kevin Mitnick discovered his first taste of power, not through technology, but through the oldest trick in the book, human deception. Imagine a 17-year-old, seemingly innocuous, walking calmly into a Pacific Bell Telephone Company office. He looks like any new trainee, a little awkward, entirely unassuming. No one stops him. Why would they? He projects an air of belonging. He strolls down the hall, opens an unlocked door, a common oversight even in supposedly secure facilities, and helps himself to a stack of confidential manuals. These aren't just dry technical documents, though they are treasure maps. Inside are passcodes, technical schematics for the phone company's digital locks, and internal system architecture. He tucks them under his arm, walks right back out, and vanishes into the L.A. sprawl. This brazen heist wasn't for profit. Not initially. It was Kevin Mitnick's idea of fun. It was a game, a thrilling test of boundaries. By the late 70s, Kevin had already mastered the art of exploitation without writing a single line of code. He understood that people and systems, especially nascent digital ones, trusted too easily. He wasn't breaking firewalls. He was walking through unlocked doors that were left open by human error or misplaced trust. His first major hack wasn't digital at all. In fact, at age 12, Mitnick had already learned what he called the bus ticket scam. He convinced a bus driver to reveal where to buy a machine that punches transit tickets, claiming it was for a school project. Armed with his own punch and a stash of blank slips scavenged from a dumpster, he rode Los Angeles buses for free. It wasn't about saving a quarter. It was about beating the system. This was a revelation. If people assumed a polite kid was telling the truth, that was their mistake to exploit. This early lesson in human gullibility would become the cornerstone of his future cyber exploits. By his teens, Kevin's exploits escalated from buses to phone lines. He fell in with a crowd of phone freaks, teenagers who snuck into phone networks for kicks. Kevin, now calling himself the Condor after his favorite spy movie, treated phone systems like a giant playground. He figured out access codes, eavesdropped on voicemail, and, crucially, He was pranking authority figures just to prove he could. Late one night, using a borrowed credential, he dialed into a phone company switch and rerouted a local FBI agent's home phone to a motel room as a joke. When the agent's colleagues called, they got a flirtatious motel clerk instead of their man. Kevin and his friends roared with laughter in a basement, delighted in how easy it was to mess with the mighty FBI. It was risky, reckless, and undeniably addicting. But what kind of teenager roots an FBI agent's phone just for fun? And what happens when those jokes stop being funny? Kevin's fearless curiosity soon crossed a critical line. That walk-in stunt at Pacific Bell didn't go unnoticed for long, as those manuals were missed, and it wasn't hard for investigators to connect the dots to a certain young phone enthusiast in town. In 1981, Mitnick was finally arrested for the first time. A judge, stunned at the teen's audacity, declared Kevin addicted to computer tampering and sent him to a juvenile rehabilitation program for 1 year. The punishment was meant to scare him straight, but for Kevin, it was merely getting caught. Was a year of rehab enough to stop someone addicted to the game? Or was this just his warm-up act? By the late 1980 seconds, Kevin Mitnick couldn't resist a challenge. The digital world was expanding, and with it, new frontiers for his particular brand of mischief. A dare from fellow hackers put him on a collision course with one of the world's top tech companies, Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC. His target, DEC's prize development system, known as the ARC. Cracking it would prove he was truly elite. But Kevin's plan wasn't to write some genius code or exploit a zero-day vulnerability. Instead, true to form, he picked up the phone. He cold-called DEC's New Hampshire office, claiming to be Anton Chernoff, a famous DEC engineer. It was a gutsy bluff. Chernoff's name was known, but his voice wasn't universally recognized. Kevin feigned frustration. "I can't log in from my location." He lied to a system developer. "I need a test account." Within minutes, the helpful engineer, trusting the assumed identity of a respected colleague, created a login for Anton Chernoff. Access granted. Kevin had slipped right through the front door of DEC's network. No password cracking required. He triumphantly showed his hacker friends that he could now browse DEC's software vault. They were in awe, and perhaps a little jealous. That stunt, however, would cost Kevin dearly. One of those so-called friends, consumed by envy or fear, betrayed him, tipping off DEC's security team and the FBI about who had infiltrated the ARC. Kevin realized too late that he'd been double-crossed. For the first time, the FBI came knocking, not to arrest him yet, but to issue a chilling warning to his mother. Her son's hacking was on their radar. Imagine being a teenager and having a federal agent at your door because you sweet-talked your way into a tech giant's crown jewels. Most would back off, but Kevin, he dove into even riskier exploits. By 1988, a 5-year-old Mitnick had set his sights on bigger trophies, source code, and secrets from major telecommunications and computer companies. He bypassed passwords, rifled through private emails, and copied proprietary software as if it were a personal library. One coveted prize was the source code for DEC's VMS operating system, which he copied to study its vulnerabilities. What was he really after? Control curiosity, or was he simply proving no one was safe? No system truly impenetrable. Another target, Motorola. Posing as a trusted insider, Mitnick conned a Motorola employee into sending him valuable cell phone source code over the network, essentially stealing the blueprint of a new cell phone technology. Each hack was bolder than the last. Mitnick wasn't after money. He was after knowledge, power, and the intoxicating rush of the game. Finally, Kevin slipped up, or someone close to him did. In 1988, FBI agents nabbed Mitnick and charged him with a laundry list of computer crimes, including the DEC caper. This time, there was no getting off easy. Kevin pleaded guilty to computer and wire fraud. The judge, spooked by Mitnick's growing reputation, denied him bail. Why? because a prosecutor absurdly claimed Kevin could whistle into a telephone and launch nuclear missiles via NORAD. It sounded like science fiction. A lone hacker triggering World War III with a phone call. But the court bought it. They locked Mitnick in solitary confinement for 8 months awaiting trial. A stark example of the fear and misunderstanding surrounding early cybercrime. After nearly 5 years behind bars, including those months in solitary, Mitnick was finally released in 1990. The authorities thought they'd taught the most dangerous hacker a lesson. They even forbade him from touching a computer or a modem during his supervised release. Kevin walked out of prison a free man, vowing to stay out of trouble. End of story. Not a chance. Just 2 years later, Mitnick felt the old itch. He found a juicy vulnerability in the phone company's voicemail system. Ironically, the same Pacific Bell he'd burglarized as a teen. And he couldn't resist. In 1992, he hacked into Pacific Bell's voicemail computers. The instant the FBI got wind, they prepared a new arrest warrant. But Kevin Mitnick wasn't going to be locked up again. He packed his bags, slipped into the night, and vanished. Kevin Mitnick became a ghost. From 1992 to 1995, he lived in the shadows, eluding an FBI manhunt that spanned the country. He hopped between cities under false identities, renting cheap apartments, always paying in cash. By day, he was Eric Weiss, a polite IT assistant at a law firm in Denver. By night, he was logging into systems he wasn't supposed to. With a new name and even a new look, Mitnick hid in plain sight. Despite his photo plastered on an FBI Most Wanted poster, he managed to blend into normal life. But he never stopped hacking. Far from it. During his years on the run, Mitnick waged a one-man cybercrime spree. Though he still insisted it was all in fun, he snuck into dozens of companies' networks just to see what he could find: telecom companies, software firms, even branches of the U.S. government. He copied proprietary source code from Sun Microsystems, Nokia, Motorola, and more. He eavesdropped on private email correspondence and stole password files at will. Each intrusion left IT administrators baffled. Who was this phantom breaching their systems and vanishing without a trace? The FBI was embarrassed. This lone hacker was making them look foolish. But how did Mitnick stay a step ahead for so long? The answer lies in his bag of spy tricks. Tactics that foreshadowed many of the dark web scams and phishing attacks we see today. Kevin cleverly cloned cellular phones, reprogramming cheap cell phones with legitimate subscriber numbers so that any call he made was untraceable to him. He'd use a cloned phone briefly, then discard it like a digital burner, a precursor to the disposable tech used in many modern cybercrime operations. He also had radio scanners to monitor law enforcement frequencies, giving him an almost prescient awareness of their movements. In fact, Mitnick pulled off the ultimate feat of turning the tables. He wiretapped the very FBI agents hunting him. Yes, you heard that right. He found a way to listen to the investigators' phone calls and even their voicemails. As one friend later said, Kevin could hear the footsteps of those trying to sneak up on him. If the FBI planned a raid, Kevin often knew hours before they arrived. He even learned the names and home addresses of the entire FBI team on his case. By late 1994, Kevin Mitnick had become the FBI's ultimate ghost, a polite nobody in public, an invisible intruder online. The U.S. Department of Justice was now calling him the most wanted computer criminal in United States history. He was their boogeyman, blamed for hacks he probably didn't even do. His exploits spawned a legion of admirers campaigning "Free Kevin." Hackers defaced websites like Yahoo and even the New York Times with messages demanding Mitnick's release, as if he were some digital folk hero. The myth was growing larger than the man, yet Kevin himself was growing reckless. After years of relentless success, he felt almost invincible, but a ghost can only haunt the wires for so long before someone catches on. So, what happens when the next trap is set by someone just as smart, perhaps even smarter, than him? It was Christmas Day, 1994. While most people unwrapped gifts, Kevin Mitnick unwrapped a fresh target. He had been probing an internet service provider in San Diego and stumbled upon a connection to a prominent computer security expert named Tsutomu Shimomura. To Kevin, Shimomura was just another system to explore. A repository of cutting-edge security research and personal files. Over the holiday, Mitnick broke into Shimomura's computer with ease, copying some sensitive files as trophies. He might have even left a calling card or two. As was his style, it was just another day's work for Kevin. But for Tsutomu Shimomura, returning from his Christmas vacation to find his computer ransacked. It was deeply personal. This wasn't an anonymous corporation being hacked. It was him, a respected researcher who took pride in securing systems. An attack on his home turf was an affront. And Shimomura was furious. This time, the hacker had hacked the wrong guy. Shimomura contacted the FBI immediately, offering his expertise to nail Mitnick. What followed was a high-tech, transcontinental manhunt, teaming the feds with a hacker hunter equally skilled. For the first time, Mitnick had a peer on his tail, someone who understood the way he thought and could anticipate his moves. Shimomura combed through logs and traced Mitnick's digital fingerprints, identifying that the intruder was operating via a cell phone connection in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. That was half a country away. But at least they had a clue. The FBI, with Shimomura's guidance, mobilized a tactical team to Raleigh. The plan was to use radio direction finding gear to pinpoint Mitnick's exact location. Agents drove around with special antennas capable of homing in on the unique signals from Mitnick's cloned cell phone whenever he connected to the internet. It was a literal fox hunt for a wireless ghost. In February 1995, the net drew tight. Shimomura and the FBI monitored Kevin's routine. Late at night, often around 11 p.m., a certain cell phone number, one not registered to any real customer, would light up the cellular networks. This was their cue that Mitnick was online, likely launching another hack. On February 15th, 1995, they got a hit. The direction-finding vans triangulated the signal to an apartment complex in Raleigh. This was it. They had him down to a specific building. As agents prepared to move in, Shimomura quietly stood by, anxious. Would Kevin detect something was off? His scanners might alert him, but no alarm sounded. The hacker was busy at his screen, blissfully unaware that outside in the dark, the FBI was at his doorstep. Just after midnight, the tactical team made its move. They crept down the hall toward apartment 202, hearts pounding. Inside, Kevin Mitnick was engrossed in a late-night session, perhaps attempting to crack another system or reading stolen emails. One agent signaled 3, 2, 1. They rammed the door. FBI, get down. The door flew open to reveal a startled Mitnick at his computer. For an instant, Kevin froze. So, this was how it ends. He raised his hands as agents swarmed him. The chase was over. It was exactly 1:30 a.m. on February 15th, 1995. When the Condor was finally caged, ending a wild 2.5-year pursuit, agents found bin loads of tech cell phones, hard drives, fake IDs. The tools of his trade. Mitnick, 31 years old and slightly bewildered, was taken into custody on a raft of charges. Outside, Tsutomu Shimomura exhaled in relief. He had won the hacker duel. But for Kevin Mitnick, the real battle, the fight over his legacy and his legend, was just beginning. Could the FBI control the legend they just caught? And was the legend bigger than the man? Kevin Mitnick's capture might have ended his hacking spree, but it kicked off a firestorm of controversy and change. As he awaited trial, hackers worldwide rallied to free Kevin. They plastered his face on t-shirts and websites, arguing that while he broke the law, the government was overstating his threat. To them, Kevin wasn't a monster, just a curious soul who exposed how insecure systems truly were. The FBI, on the other hand, trumpeted his arrest as a major victory against cybercrime. Officials called him the most dangerous hacker in America, blaming him for causing fear and chaos. They pointed to families of officials Kevin had harassed, secrets he had stolen, and the notion that if this hacker wasn't harshly punished, others would be emboldened. When Mitnick finally faced a judge in 1999, he accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to multiple counts of wire and computer fraud and was sentenced to 46 months in prison. In addition to the years he'd already spent in pre-trial detention, all told, he served about 5 years behind bars. As part of his release, the court banned him from touching any computer or cell phone for 3 additional years. Imagine the world's most famous hacker forbidden from using the internet in the dot-com era. It was like telling Michelangelo he couldn't touch a paintbrush. Mitnick later joked it was the hardest part of his punishment. But he kept his head down and obeyed the restrictions. Over time, the fear around Mitnick began to give way to insight. In a Senate hearing in March 2000, Kevin spoke openly about how he pulled off his hacks. He testified that the human element is truly the weakest link in security, emphasizing that all the firewalls and encryption mean nothing if a savvy con artist can trick an insider. He described, with a bit of pride, how he never needed to punch through high-tech defenses when he could just call up an employee and ask for the front door key. Figuratively speaking, Mitnick's forte was social engineering, impersonating people to gain trust and information, and his exploits proved just how effective that technique could be. Companies took notes. Following Mitnick's case, corporations and government agencies across the globe started investing in security awareness training for their staff, teaching them not to fall for the kind of tricks Kevin used. In a way, the havoc he caused forced the cybersecurity field to grow up. But what if someone followed in his footsteps today? Would we even see it coming? The methods Mitnick pioneered are still alive and well, though often more sophisticated. In today's digital landscape, phishing attacks, where cybercriminals impersonate legitimate entities to trick you into revealing sensitive information, are direct descendants of Mitnick's social engineering. Think about the millions of scam emails that flood inboxes daily, attempting to gain your trust to extract passwords, bank details, or even install malware. These are designed to bypass technical defenses by exploiting human psychology. Consider the recent rise in business email compromise, or BEC, scams, where criminals impersonate executives to trick employees into making fraudulent wire transfers. These schemes cost businesses billions annually, not through technical hacking, but through careful manipulation and trust. Or the dark web markets where stolen credentials, the very data Mitnick once sought, are sold by the millions, enabling widespread identity theft and financial fraud. These aren't just abstract threats. They are real, immediate dangers to our financial well-being and privacy. So, what can we learn from this legendary cybercrime documentary, and how can we protect ourselves from the modern-day Mitnicks? First, be a digital skeptic. Never trust unsolicited emails, calls, or texts asking for personal information. Always verify the sender through a separate, known contact method. If a friend sends a suspicious link, call them to confirm. A healthy dose of skepticism is your first and best line of defense against phishing. Second, use strong, unique passwords and 2FA. This cannot be stressed enough. Use complex, unique passwords for every account. Better yet, use a reputable password manager. And, always enable two-factor authentication, or 2FA, wherever possible. It's an extra layer of security that can stop a hacker even if they manage to get your password. Third, recognize social engineering tactics. Be wary of urgency, emotional appeals, or claims of unexpected prizes. Criminals try to bypass your critical thinking by exploiting fear, greed, or curiosity. If it sounds too good to be true, or too urgent to delay, it's likely a scam. Fourth, keep your software updated. Operating systems, web browsers, and antivirus software need to be regularly updated. These updates often contain critical security patches that fix vulnerabilities exploited by hackers. Automate updates whenever possible. Fifth, monitor your accounts. Regularly check your bank statements, credit card activity, and credit reports for any suspicious activity. The sooner you detect unauthorized transactions, the quicker you can mitigate the damage. Many financial fraud cases are detected by alert customers. And finally, back up your data. In the event of a ransomware attack or data loss, having secure backups can be your lifeline. Store important files offline or in secure cloud storage. And what about Kevin Mitnick himself? In a plot twist worthy of a Hollywood movie, after his release, Kevin transformed from outlaw to advisor. He wrote best-selling books about his adventures, Ghost in the Wires and The Art of Deception, which are still vital reads for understanding the human element of security. And he began working as a legitimate security consultant, helping companies find weaknesses in their systems by doing the very same things that once landed him in jail. The fox now guards the henhouse, with a deep understanding of how the other foxes think. Mitnick even gained enough respectability to testify alongside law enforcement experts, warning Congress about emerging cyber threats. The once infamous Condor eventually became a respected white-hat hacker, using his skills to protect where he once infiltrated. Kevin Mitnick passed away in 2023, but his legacy and the lessons learned from his incredible journey continue to shape the world of cybersecurity. His story is a powerful reminder the greatest threats in the digital realm often aren't sophisticated code, but the vulnerabilities within ourselves. So, digital sleuths, what did you think of Kevin Mitnick's incredible story? Did you know about his wiretapping the FBI? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this cybercrime documentary insightful, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into the digital underworld, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay secure, and keep sleuthing.